Picture this. Keir Starmer wakes up every morning, stumbles to his kitchen and spins a giant wheel labelled "Which promise am I breaking today?" It lands on literally everything. He nods, makes himself a sensible breakfast and gets to work systematically disappointing the entire nation. Welcome back to Brit Article, where we discuss the political chaos that is modern Britain, and today we're talking about what might be Starmer's biggest betrayal yet. Before we dive in, smash that subscribe button and hit the notification bell, because trust me, you'll want to be first in line when the next political disaster drops. The man has performed more U-turns than a taxi driver who's lost his GPS in central London. Honestly, at this point, I'm half expecting him to announce that gravity is optional and tea should be made with cold water, just to see if anyone's still paying attention. But here's the thing, while most of his reversals have been catastrophically bad, they've at least been reversible. What's coming next, that's a different beast entirely. Let's rewind for a second and appreciate the absolute masterclass in flip-flopping we've witnessed. Remember when Starmer promised, hand on heart, tears probably in his eyes, that he wouldn't raise taxes on working people? He said it 52 times. 52! That's not a policy position, that's a mantra, that's something you'd chant before battle. And then, faster than you can say national insurance contributions, he hiked them anyway. Working people across Britain checked their payslips and realized they'd been had. The promise had the lifespan of a mayfly at a bird convention. But wait, there's more. The two-child benefit cap was going to stay. Absolutely, definitely, no question about it, until his own MPs staged what can only be described as a parliamentary mutiny and forced him to ditch it. Nothing says strong leadership, quite like being bullied into doing the right thing by your own team. Then came the winter fuel payment saga, which honestly felt like watching someone try to rob pensioners in slow motion. The government decided, in its infinite wisdom, that elderly people could simply try being warmer through the power of positive thinking. Millions of pensioners spent weeks genuinely distressed, wondering if they'd have to choose between heating and eating, before the inevitable backlash forced yet another climb down. Apparently freezing the elderly isn't the vote winner the focus group suggested. Who could have possibly predicted that? Not satisfied with upsetting the nation's grandparents, Starmer then set his sights on farmers, because if there's one demographic you definitely want to alienate, it's the people who grow your food. Inheritance tax changes turned rural Britain into a pressure cooker of protests and fury. Tractors rolled through London like an agricultural revolution. For months, farmers made it crystal clear that they were not impressed by being treated as a government piggy bank for wasteful spending projects nobody asked for. 18 months of chaos later, Starmer U-turned, sort of, maybe. The details remain about as clear as Thames water after a rainstorm. Some farms get relief, others don't, and the criteria seem to have been written by someone playing policy bingo after 3 pints. Understandably, farmers remain skeptical that Starmer will actually follow through, given his track record suggests he treats commitments like suggested guidelines written in disappearing ink.
Now let's talk about pubs, because apparently Starmer thought closing down Britain's boozers would be a brilliant idea. He threatened to scrap the business rate relief that keeps many locals alive, which is particularly ironic, given that most people need several stiff drinks just to get through one of his speeches. But surprise, surprise, threatening to shut down community hubs where people have been gathering for centuries turned out to be politically unpopular. The rumoured U-turn on rate relief cuts is apparently now in motion, with ministers backpedalling faster than a circus bear on a unicycle being chased by a particularly motivated beekeeper. The grooming gang's inquiry deserves its own special mention in this hall of shame. One week it was dismissed as a far-right bandwagon that serious people should ignore. The next week, after the public applied enough pressure to make a diamond jealous, suddenly an inquiry was exactly what the nation needed all along. The speed of that reversal could give you whiplash. It's like watching someone insist the house isn't on fire before reluctantly agreeing that maybe, perhaps, potentially the flames deserve looking into. And the waspy women? Oh, they got the full Starmer treatment. No compensation, then yes compensation, then maybe compensation, then let's think about compensation. The man treats principles like a game of hokey-cokey. You put your policy in, you pull your policy out. In, out, shake it all about. But here's where things get truly serious, and I need you to pay attention, because this isn't just another policy flip-flop. This is potentially democracy undermining, will of the people ignoring, fundamental change-level stuff. Extensive reports are suggesting that Starmer is planning to drag Britain, kicking and screaming and probably wrapped in a Union Jack, back into the EU single market. Let's be absolutely clear about what this means. In case anyone at number 10 has forgotten, we voted to leave the European Union. Not half leave, not sort of leave, not leave but actually just stand in the doorway. We voted to leave. Take back control, they said. Govern ourselves, they promised. Make our own laws. Control our own borders. That was the entire point of the exercise. Surrendering to the single market would mean accepting EU rules over which we have precisely zero say. It would mean free movement returning through the back door like an unwanted party guest who won't take the hint. It would mean European courts having jurisdiction over British law, which rather defeats the object of having British law in the first place. We'd have left in name only, keeping all the obligations while surrendering the benefits of actually being independent. It's like getting divorced but still having to attend your ex's family dinners and follow their house rules. Now, I understand that Sir Keir Starmer, arch-remainer extraordinaire, probably dreams about Brussels bureaucracy the way other people dream about tropical beaches. That's fine, he's entitled to his opinions. But here's the thing, it's not what we voted for. The referendum result wasn't ambiguous. 17.4 million people made their voices heard. They didn't vote for Brexit, but not really. They voted for Brexit. Full stop. End of sentence. Making the entire Brexit battle meaningless might be Starmer's personal fantasy, but it would represent a deliberate choice to override the democratic will of the British people. It would be telling those millions of voters that their decision counts for nothing, that they can vote all they like, but the establishment knows better and will do what it wants anyway. That's not democracy, that's theatre. Sir Keir can spin his policy wheel as many times as he likes on taxes and benefits and pubs and farmers and fuel payments. He can reverse and pivot and recalibrate until he's dizzy. Those U-turns, while frustrating and damaging and symptomatic of terrible governance, can, at least theoretically, be undone by future governments. But rejoining the single market, that's different. That's not a policy adjustment. That's a fundamental surrender of sovereignty that cannot easily be reversed when the polls turn sour, or the public gets angry, or the next election looms. This would be permanent, final, a betrayal not just of campaign promises or manifesto commitments, but of the country itself and the democratic decision it made. While Starmer's other reversals have been exercises in political cowardice and poor judgment, this would be something far worse, a conscious decision to ignore the clearly expressed will of the people. That's the line. That's where policy incompetence crosses into democratic betrayal. And if Starmer crosses it, history won't remember the national insurance hikes, or the winter fuel payment, or even the farmers' protests. It'll remember him as the Prime Minister who looked at the biggest democratic exercise in British history and decided it didn't really count. That would be the worst betrayal of all. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with anyone who needs to know what's coming. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I'll see you in the next one.